Aloha folks, and welcome aboard yet again to the Ocean Spirit. We're really excited to have you guys on board today to introduce you guys to the wild and wacky world of whales out here in our Maui Nui water basin. Now, my name is Annelise, and I'm one of the naturalists here at Pacific Whale Foundation. Right now, over my shoulder, we actually have a couple of humpback whales. So if you guys want to take a second and maybe get your first sighting of them, I'll be back on in just a second to share some more cool facts with you guys.
Flick. Did you get that?
15 is kind of a magic number for these humpback whales, but it's not because whales have a favorite number. It just so happens that a lot of things in these whales' lives just happen to revolve around the number 15. So a couple of examples would be the width of their tail flukes are 15 feet long. Their babies, when they're first born, are 15 feet long and they weigh 1,500 pounds. Their pectoral flippers, the flipper on the side of their body that looks like an arm, is 15 feet long. Their head is 15 feet long. Even their skeleton weighs 15% of their total body mass. Isn't it crazy how many 15s there are in the humpback whale world?
Okay, we've had a couple of great questions about how we know these animals that you're adopting online are the exact animals that our researchers are spotting both here in Maui County waters and in Alaska. So I'm gonna let Annelise answer that question. Annelise, how do we know that when you adopt an animal with Pacific Whale Foundation, how do they know that when we see the animal, it's their animal that we're seeing?
Great question. So for our adoptable animals, and actually for all of our research on humpback whales, to recognize individuals, we actually use the backside of their fluke or their tail. Now you guys may have seen some of these tails coming up into the air as the whales dive, and this is often how we get a really good picture for our catalog. Now you guys can see some examples here of some different whale flukes. Now we assign these different flukes a type between type 1 and type 5, and that just tells us how much black there is versus how much white there is on their flukes. Now, some of these whales have some other really interesting markings that we can use to help to identify their unique individual pattern, because every whale's is unique, just like a human fingerprint. So down here, for example, M is a really great example of a whale who seems like it has the tips of its flukes almost cut off. They have really straight lines on either side of its fluke. That's a whale that's going to be extremely recognizable to us as researchers. Now, for some of these other whales, you might be looking for things like some of the differences, like this little black dot right here, or even some of these black lines going through their tail might all be indicators of how we're going to identify these individual whales.
Okay, kids, we want to make sure you have a clear understanding of how we as scientists tell the difference in humpback whales when they're diving. Annelise talked earlier about how humpback whales have a very unique pattern on their ventral, their bottom side of that fluke. So you can tell the difference in Migaloo and Nala and Makena, all whales that you could adopt with Pacific Whale Foundation. So Annelise, let's think for a minute. When we call each other on the phone, oftentimes we can tell who it is because of their voice. We've talked about how humpback whales, we can see the difference in these humpback whales. Can you tell us a little bit about how we as scientists may be able to identify, and then we'll try to come up with a game where the kids can help identify who we are?
Definitely. So scientists identify these whales using pictures often that they take of their flukes. As these whales dive, they often stick their tails into the air, and if we can get a really good picture, we can actually identify that whale using this catalog of images we have of whales that we've seen in the past. Now you guys can actually donate photos to our research department. So if you guys want to come on board one of our trips and take some photos of our local whales, you can actually donate those at research@pacificwhale.org, and you can become part of our science researching these whales.
So Annelise, we have some inspiring young scientists that have applied to work here with us, and they're curious what's the process that you went through to get hired on here as a marine naturalist with PacWhale Eco Adventures. And do you have any advice for these folks at home that are looking to come and get a job here in Maui with this incredible organization?
Definitely. I think the most important thing about becoming a marine naturalist or a marine biologist is caring really early on. It doesn't matter if you're getting a job or an internship, or even if you're going to college yet. You can, from at home, make a really big impact on our oceans, and you can start influencing your friends around you by teaching them some of the lessons that you've learned here today. So I encourage you guys to start your journey wherever you are by learning and teaching the people around you those things that you've learned. Now, for those of you who actually want to get potentially a degree or a career as a marine naturalist or marine biologist, I encourage you guys to go to college. get a degree in something like marine biology, zoology, environmental studies. Those are all degrees that we see out here on our boats as naturalists all the time. Now, it does take a whole lot of work. It took me a couple of internships and some other unpaid opportunities. I volunteered at many different aquariums. I worked all over the coast of the east coast of the US. I worked with dolphins in captivity and all kinds of other animals. I even trained chickens to get here. So lots of different paths could lead you to becoming a marine naturalist out here on the water, but the most important part is caring and doing something from wherever you are in the world.
That's it for now. Join us again next time to learn even more about the wild and wonderful world of our humpback whales.